This is True Multifamily, the show where we dive in on what really happens after closing a multifamily property. We're going to expose the role of asset manager. That's the person who has the responsibility of seeing the vision, executing the plan, and managing people, budgets, and timelines, all to deliver returns for our investors. These are the real struggles, the real victories, and the real stories of asset management.
Welcome back to another episode of True Multifamily. I'm your host, Justin Fraser, here with Jorge Abreu. Jorge, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Man, I love the way you pronounce the name. I like it.
Did I nail it?
You nailed it. I think you're the first one that's
no way. All right. Well, +1 for me. Let's end the show while we're on top. And thank you for coming on today.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to be on. I've known you for a while now. And
Yeah. I think actually I know we had talked online a bit. We got to finally meet at the Best Ever conference last year and tried to work on a few things this year together. So something will land for sure for us, I know, this year coming up. But let's, for those who don't know who you are, take a few minutes and give us a bit on your background, how you got into it and where you are right now and what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started in South Florida. I'm born and raised in Miami, Florida. And when I was getting my engineering degree, I kind of realized I didn't want to be an engineer. And I knew I wanted to start my own company. Several members of my family had their own company, and I had kind of just been around that while I was growing up, and didn't know what. I started doing some research on different successful individuals and kept running back to real estate investing. So I got drawn to that, started doing some research, and finally got well educated on it and started doing some single family deals. By that time, I had already graduated and working in UPS in the engineering department. Got up to doing enough deals where I felt the money was consistent, and I was actually losing money by being at my W-2. So yeah, that's when I quit.
Good for you. How long from graduation to that point? How long we talking?
Oh man, I want to say I was maybe working full time there 2 years or less. I think it was maybe less.
So new graduate, working full time, built a side hustle in real estate, and to the point that it was more profitable for you to leave your steady job within 2 years. Yeah. Nice, very good.
Family thought I was crazy, but
of course,
it was all right. So started doing single family. Really got drawn to the fix and flips and wholesales. So we would wholesale a bunch of deals, and then the ones we really liked, we would keep and fix and flip. Had some issues finding good contractors. Then had the market crash. It hit really bad in South Florida. And then that's when I moved to Dallas. Looked at other markets, and Dallas was very stable. They weren't inflating prices like they were in the east and west of the U.S. So made that move, and at that point I kind of tilted and started doing more rentals. Bought some small multifamily like 8-plexes, and when the market kind of heated back up, I went back to my fix and flips and really wanted to scale that. And I got burned by a contractor in doing that, and I realized that if I brought construction in-house, that was really going to help me take it to the next level as far as scaling and being able to do more properties. So that was about 11 years ago, and started J&T Construction, and then it worked out. A lot of hard work, a lot of trial and error.
I'd like to pause right there, and because that I think is a point that a lot of flippers probably get to, and I know that's not the core for this podcast or our audience, but it is always interesting to me. People decide either, okay, I'm going to partner with a contractor, or I'm still going to use third parties, but at some point it just doesn't make sense. And they say, okay, I'm going to do it in-house. What does it actually mean to bring that in-house? Can you describe that a little bit?
Yeah, so I mean, it was I started becoming so involved in the construction part of it, even though I was hiring a third party, but I wanted to make sure things were getting done a certain way and putting in my systems and procedures that at one point, I mean, I was pretty much the one giving direction to everybody, and DC was kind of just standing around. So, at that point I was like, well, why am I doing this? Why am I hiring a GC? So, you got to get your crews that are mainly loyal to you, and you've got to, as you grow, then you've got to add some project managers, and you've got to, it was definitely a transition, and some things I did that didn't work out, and I had to adjust and whatnot. But at the end of the day, we started getting up to about 30 to 40 flips a year. So it worked. I was able to scale, but I kind of hit a wall where it was difficult to continue to scale from there. And then that's when I got introduced to multifamily syndications. Before that was about 4 years ago. I didn't know that existed. I thought people buying these multifamily apartments that are 100 plus units were just coming in with millions of dollars of their own and taking them down. So when I got introduced by a client, actually, with the construction company. We were doing some work for them at their multifamily, and then I started asking questions, and once I was introduced to that, I went nuts, and started getting educated, and started making that tilt towards multifamily. At first, I was doing both single family, multifamily. At one point, I kind of realized that I wanted to be in the multifamily space, and I really wanted to go after that. So I just cut off single family altogether. That's with the investments and the construction company. That was maybe about 3 years ago. And, now I'm right at about 2,000 doors. We're looking to have a great year this year. Take it up to the next level. And, yeah, man,
that's a great summary. So now you're owner of 2,000 units. Are these mostly syndicated deals?
Yeah, these are all of them are syndications.
All of them syndicated deals. Okay, somewhere you're the lead, somewhere you're partnering with other folks. And I know from our previous outside of this conversation, you bring a ton of value with the construction company as well. So talk about just how your company adds value to the general partnership.
Yeah, so we obviously have years of experience doing this, and then when we're first looking at the asset during due diligence and even before then, we're getting really detailed on the CapEx and what the property is going to need. By the time we're done with due diligence, we know exactly down to the cent how much we're going to need to execute the entire business plan, take care of the deferred maintenance, do the upgrades, everything. And then the execution, the second we close on a deal, we're there next day, knocking things out. We don't waste time.
Can't waste time.
Yeah. Time is definitely money in multifamily.
Absolutely. And that tip for everyone listening, do not wait. Do not think I can close and maybe we'll get someone out the next week and we'll look the week after. Day one, you got to have your bids lined up, your contractors ready to go. They got to be ready to hit the ground running first thing the next morning, right?
Yep. No, I see it all the time where investors wait and months. They're still trying to figure things out and figure out their scope, and clearly their CapEx budget was not accurate if they're still trying to figure things out. So
right. I made that mistake on my first deal. I waited too long. I didn't just, it's easy to say, yeah, we'll get to it. We'll get a sense of the property first, then we'll start spending money. But man, you're digging yourself a hole that's just going to take you longer and longer to build out of with every day that you wait.
And I think there's a couple items that you can maybe if there's an amenity, you want to do an amenity, but you're not quite sure, something like that, you can maybe wait, but you should have that contingency amount there.
Oh yeah. And I mean, look, you can't spend every dollar in your CapEx budget on day one, but you have to start, and you have to have a plan and start working through that project plan so that you're not just sitting idle. You've always got to have something moving, someone working until that project is done.
For sure.
So let's talk then about how you can help before we get into your True Multifamily story. Just how can your construction company help someone? I know we talked about, I see you guys posting about doing due diligence all the time. If can I just hire you guys to come do diligence on my multifamily property? What does that look like? How could we work together?
Yeah. So, we started off doing due diligence just for our properties, right? And then I started seeing some of the other due diligence that was done on other investors' properties, and completely different than what I was doing on mine. And I realized that we could offer our services. That there's definitely a benefit, something that we offer that's different than others, in the aspect where we treat it like it's our asset. And like I said, by the time when you get our report, exactly what you're going to spend, not just deferred maintenance, upgrades, everything. So we get very detailed. And yes, to answer your question, you can hire us to just come out and do the due diligence. That's something beginning of last year, I decided that I was going to start doing more. And then, we can also execute CapEx after that.
Right. Which is even more great. And I would say to anyone looking to do that, to hire Jorge's company or any other company, you can certainly hire someone to do that due diligence and put a scope of work together, and then you can do what you want with it. But then Jorge can follow up and execute on that. We, for the first time, hired a company, wasn't your company, to do due diligence for us this year on a project, and then handed that plan to someone else. And it does present some challenges, because the company that builds a plan can execute it, because you've got the contractors that are giving you those bids, and how you're going to do it. And we've talked about the scope and the plan. So it's a lot more efficient that way. So I would recommend, if you're going to hire someone for DD, plan to have them execute that plan as well. But that's not to say it can't be done. But so let's great. That's a really good summary. And if anyone is, well, let's talk about areas. Where are you operating? Is it just the Southeast U.S.? Where can we call you for help?
Oh man, it's constantly growing. We started in Texas. Obviously, we've got staff in Dallas and Houston. We've got full-time salary staff, but we've really gotten the mobilization part of it down. So, we're doing stuff in Georgia, Oklahoma. And at this point, we're pretty much open to doing it anywhere.
Got it. Yeah. Excellent. Great. So guys, I highly recommend that. But Jorge, let's talk about the very sexy topic of insurance claims. I know that you have a great story for us about insurance. It's something that probably most people think of as an afterthought. It's an expense that we all know we have to bear, but not something that we always necessarily want to deal with, or even very well versed in shopping for, planning for. I'm guilty myself. My broker tells me, hey, this is the update for the year. Your coverage isn't really changing. I say, okay, we're good. We'll keep it rolling. But let's dive in. Tell us about the importance of it, some of the big events that you guys had happen this year, and take us through it.
Yeah. So I guess I could start with some things you want to make sure your policy covers. And I know from experience, you want to make sure you have these things. One is rent loss. So you want to make sure that it covers your rent loss in case of a loss. And building code upgrades. So very important, because
that's a good one.
Yeah. You have a large loss and you got to come in, and the city's requiring you to upgrade all your electrical meters. And it's not in your policy, then you're gonna have to pay that out of pocket.
So really then the insurance company would pay for the work to be redone as it was, not how the city is now requiring you to make it be, right?
Correct,
And so
correct. I'll give you a quick example. Like if you've got a flat roof and it was built with no insulation, no ISO boards on it, and now you've got to redo the whole roof, but the city requires you to have 3-inch ISO boards. Depending how big that roof is, I mean, we're talking about thousands of dollars for sure. If your policy is excluding that, then you've got to come out of pocket.
Right, right. Very good. Very important.
So, yeah, code upgrades, rent loss, and last one I would probably mention is asbestos. So the insurance company is not going to cover you just for asbestos. Like if you go and you test and you have asbestos, but if there's a large loss, usually a fire, most cities are going to require you to get an asbestos test done. And if you have it, then you've got to get it abated, and that could be really costly. So you got to make sure the insurance is not excluding that from a fire loss.
Got it. That'd be a pretty bad 1-2 punch of a fire and then asbestos.
Yeah.
Now you're really stuck.
Big difference from having a claim come in and really, if you got a good policy at the end of a large claim, I mean, you could be in pretty good shape. You could end up with nice upgraded units and barely anything out of pocket.
So tell me about that process a little bit. I put in a claim. I have a big loss, fire, let's say. I put in a claim. Talk me through that process. What do I need to know? What do I need to do? How do I know that I'm getting the best, return from the insurance company? Do I need to call anybody, the city, other people? Like, just tell me everything I need to know about this.
A lot of people. So, look, an insurance company's a business, right? So when it comes to especially multifamily properties or commercial properties, they're not just going to turn over and give you the claim and cover everything. Their first reaction is to either deny it, which obviously on a fire, it's kind of difficult, even though they'll try. I mean, they'll try to see what the cause was. And then just not pay out fully on it and everything that they should cover. So you need to know that going in. You need to know that the adjuster that shows up that represents the insurance company is not your adjuster. He doesn't have your best interest in mind.
Great point. Great point. He is hired and works for the insurance company whose best interest is to spend as little as possible on your claim.
Exactly. So we usually bring in our own adjuster, a public adjuster that can fight for us on our behalf and make sure that we get everything covered. Now you do have to pay them something, but if you build a good relationship, you can take that down pretty low, and if they're a good public adjuster, they're going to make up for it in how much they end up getting covered versus what you would have gotten covered. Without
so is just can you give us some ranges on what an adjuster might cost? Is it an upfront fee, and what sort of upside do you generally see when they're representing you? Yeah,
so it shouldn't be upfront. It should be paid out from the total collected from the insurance. Your standard is usually around 10%. If you can get somebody to do it for about 5 to 7%, that's pretty good.
Okay.
And then they wouldn't get that till the end, to the last draw from the insurance, and then they would take their cut from it and pay the difference.
Now, their best interest is if they're getting paid on a percent of what they get you, they are trying to get you the highest number from the insurance company. Is that right?
So they're going to take care of all the communication from them. Once you hire them, sign their agreement, they're going to be the lead, and they're going to contact the insurance company's adjuster, the insurance company, and they're going to be negotiating, going back and forth with them and trying to get the highest amount they can.
Okay. So how do I know what to look for? How do I know a good adjuster if I've not used one before, or if I'm looking to build out my team?
Um, References, I would say, contact other investors in the area. I mean, that's what I did the first time we had a large claim. Was I contacted other investors, and I got maybe like 10 referrals, called them all up, and went with the one I felt most comfortable.
Okay. And what's something that would make you feel more or less comfortable with an adjuster? What type of things would they say that might give you the warm and fuzzies, or might scare you off a little bit?
Um, One is obviously the amount they want,
The rate.
fee,
Okay. Yep.
and how they want that fee. Like you said, if anybody says up front, then no
Run.
way. Yeah, definitely don't pay them up front. And then just references as well. I want to talk to somebody that's used them and had success. Is the biggest thing for me.
Okay. All right. So I have this claim. The insurance company is saying one thing. I've hired an adjuster that I've vetted, and you're saying they take over the whole process. So they're going to negotiate on my behalf. What happens if they don't get as much, or is it possible they can get less than what the insurance company was initially offering? What are there any downsides to using an adjuster?
No, I mean, I would say you don't want to be 100% hands off. I still review the estimate. I don't know if it's because of my construction background, if that's going to be different for somebody else, but I'm always adding items in there too to make sure that are covered. And then I do make calls to the city, or my team does, to see what they require. Which, I mean, some adjusters may even do that for you too. I'm used to doing it. So,
Right.
So I would say, them getting you less, that I've never seen that. I mean, their job is to get you more.
Right. Okay, good. I mean, I'd be really mad if I got less and then I still had to pay them some percentage.
Yeah. And, it's not to do on every claim. And then again, you don't want to file too many things on your insurance either. It's got to be a certain point that makes sense to file it. Another thing I didn't mention in the beginning is your deductibles. Be careful on what you sign up for your deductible, and be careful with wind and hail. Sometimes there's a different deductible for wind and hail. At least in Texas and Oklahoma, there's a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
So last thing you want to do is have a really high deductible on wind and hail, and then you got to come out of pocket to replace your roofs. Okay,
that's a good tip. In general, how much insurance are you getting? Are you getting as much as what you purchased the property for? Are you putting an umbrella policy on top of that? How much should I be looking for?
On the amounts, I mean, we kind of lean towards the lender, the lender requirement.
Yep.
Usually I feel pretty comfortable with those, have, also try to have where it's not building specific. So where if your coverage is 9 million, it's 9 million no matter what, and it's not 9 million, but it's capped at whatever, 200,000 on each building.
Right. If you have 9 buildings, you're limited to $1 million per building. Yeah, we don't want that. Yeah. Okay. Can you get into us and tell us as much as you can, because I know you posted on social media early this year. You guys had a big fire at one of your properties. Just talk us through, what happened. Tell us about it.
Yeah, it's so we've had back-to-back years where we've had a fire right before we're getting ready to do a refi cash out.
That's a great time for a fire.
Yeah, perfect time. Exactly what we wanted. So we've had to act pretty quick. I guess I didn't mention, this process, unless you're on top of it and unless you've got a good team. Another thing the insurance company wants to do is drag it on.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to fork out that money.
Of course.
So obviously with in our case, with both these situations, we need to get it done as quick as possible. So, not wasting any time, man. I mean, the second that I think I got alerted this last time was maybe midnight, or it's always late at night.
Yeah. It's not 11 o'clock on a Tuesday when these things happen.
No. So, I mean, at that point, first thing I did was put my insurance agent on a call, let him know, or I think I sent him an email or text, but I didn't call him. Same with the public adjuster, I knew who we were going to use already. And kind of just geared up the whole team. I got my construction team ready. So, at the same time that we're working with the insurance, my construction team is also gearing up to get it done.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't start right away, because then you can run into issues with the insurance. The insurance has got to be able to do their due diligence in a sense. The only thing you could and should do is stop any further damage. So like if you've got a large hole in the roof, then yeah, you should do a temporary fix for that so that it doesn't continue to damage the interior. So just getting all that set up, and then every day, I think for the following 2 weeks after that, every day I was on the phone with something about the fire claim and getting everything set up. Finally got approval from the insurance. It took a little bit longer than I wanted to. They were kind of fighting us on some stuff, trying to not cover, trying to deny the claim. Finally, we put enough proof, and they went ahead and accepted it. So now we're just waiting on. We got them to clear a deposit, and we're getting ready to start on it. That's another thing, man. There's so many people involved. Once again, you've got to be efficient. You got to be organized, because we're going to have a check cut from the insurance that is then going to go to our public adjuster, because they're going to be named on it.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to sign off on it. Then that check is going to come to us, because the apartment, the LLC that the apartment's under is on there. We got to sign that. Then we got to send it to our property manager, to put it in our operating account. No, kidding. I missed the whole step. Then we got to send it to the lender, because the lender's on there too.
Right.
The lender's got to sign off on it. And then send it to our property manager.
And that's just the process to literally sign the check and put it in the account. I mean, my goodness. Yeah. So many hands in the pot on that one. So you said you still haven't started the work on this, right? So how long from the fire to the time you got through this process and now can start work?
I can't remember, man. I want to say it was October.
October. Okay. So we're talking 3 to 4 months or so. And you also mentioned at the very top of the show to have the lost rent. So not only are you covering, the repairs, but presumably the insurance company is covering all the units that are out, that obviously your tenants had to move out because you can't live there, but you are still receiving the amount of rent that you would have received.
Right, but that's not automatic either. You've got to provide a ton of paperwork. Right now, we've provided them with all that paperwork, and they've decided to hire an accountant to go through it all. So we're still...
It's not as easy as showing them a lease.
No. We're maybe 2 to 3 months into it. I think it's closer to 2. But and still no rent loss. So we've had to cover, that loss in rent. Right.
Wow. There's just so much to know, and I know we just scratched the surface on it, but that's so helpful. Do you have, if you don't want to give us specific numbers for this case, can you give us an idea of what the insurance company was offering and what you ended up with by using the public adjuster?
So on this one, we didn't even bother to get. So timing is of the essence, right?
Yeah.
It's actually. It comes out less expensive with the adjuster if you let them start from the beginning.
Oh, okay.
I mean, they build their own estimate. We don't even get an estimate from the insurance.
So insurance is okay waiving that. They're not going to insist that they send someone as well.
No, they send someone, but versus waiting for them to send someone, waiting for their estimate to put together, and then sending that to us, which we know is going to be less.
Got it.
From experience, we just know it is.
Yeah, of course.
We have our adjuster put it together, and then once that other adjusters are signed on the insurance side, boom, deliver it to them and go, hey, this is what we should get paid. What do you think?
Got it. So I love that because time is so important. You're not even waiting to try to play the game and try to negotiate. We know what it's going to take. Here's the number. There's no way their number is going to be higher than yours anyway. So here it is.
There'll be a lot of hesitation in that. I get it. Some investors are going to want to say, well, I want to see what the insurance is going to give me.
Sure.
It's like, okay, man, if you want to do that, you're wasting time, but go for it.
Right. You're paying taxes and insurance and everything on those units that are not getting fixed. They're probably getting worse. They're more likely to be damaged. There's more likely to be, hurt the overall reputation of the property. I mean, it does nobody any good to leave those units burned up and not repaired. So, man, right. Jorge, there's so much information in this episode. Thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it. I know our listeners are going to appreciate it. I'm going to ask you for your true multifamily tip, but before we do that, can you please tell our audience where they can find out more about you? Anything you want to promote? Now's your chance.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. As far as investments go, we put a ton of free content on our website, which is elevatecig.com. You can see some of our 506c offerings on there too, if you're interested in investing passively. And then our construction website is JNT Construct. So no ION, just JNT Construct. Even though if you put JNT Construction, it's good. I've got it forwarded to JNT Construct, so it's all good. Same there, you'll find a bunch of details about what we do and how we help investors. And then if your listeners want to email me as well, they can at Jorge, Jorge, at elevatecig.com. And I can send over, I've got a bunch of checklists and actually insurance. I've been creating one on insurance, on what to do step by step. So if your listeners email me, I'll make sure to finish it.
That's awesome. A little to do for you. Yeah. Listen, Jorge provides so much value and education, and I'm learning just through your social media posts. And I'm hopeful that we will work together very soon. If you guys have any interest at all, please give Jorge a call, and he will definitely help you out for sure. Okay, all of Jorge's links, bios, social media, that's all going to be on our website, truemultifamily.show. You can look up Jorge's episode while you're there. Please make sure you leave us a rating and review. We love your reviews. Jorge, here we are. Your true multifamily tip. Someone is looking to get into multifamily real estate investing. The first thing you tell them is what?
Is get the right mindset. It's I guess depending where they're coming from, but I know a lot of them make the transition from single family or smaller multifamily. Numbers are bigger. The equity that needs to be brought in is obviously bigger, but if you manage the asset correctly, it could actually be easier than some of the smaller stuff. You just have to have that mindset that's ready to think bigger, and that should help, push you forward. I
love it. Such good advice. I 100% agree. Really helpful. Everyone check out Jorge Abreu, jntconstruct.com, and all of his other sites and social mentioned before. Jorge, thanks so much for coming on the show, man. I really appreciate it. And I really hope you'll come back.
Yep. Thank you, Justin.
Thanks for listening to another episode. Check out our website at truemultifamily.show. And if you have an amazing story to tell, share it on our Facebook community, and you might just be the next guest on the show. We're also on all other social networks. Just search True Multifamily. I'm really, really proud to have this show produced by our company, On Air Brands. Check us out at onairbrands.com. We also have an incredible, unique podcasting event that we would love for you to be a part of. Check that out at podmax.co.